Hello and a very good evening to all of you, and welcome to this Friday's episode of SyncUp Colombo, the live stream. We are coming live to you on our Facebook page, the API DM Facebook page, and today I'm live streaming this to my LinkedIn profile as well. I'm sure there may be a few people joining in from LinkedIn as well. You can say hi and let us know from where you are joining on Facebook or on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you saw the flyer, the promo materials we circulated for today's live streaming, you would have noticed that today's moderator, the host, was it's supposed to be Jonathan, and instead, in Jonathan's place today, I'm here as your host, and I'm going to be your host right throughout the day or the session today. And Jonathan is actually having kind of like a medical break. We'll wish him recover soon, and he'll be with us back maybe next week or week after as a host. Right now, okay, we have a live audience building up, so let us know who are with us, the regular viewers. Just let us know with a comment. From LinkedIn, if you are joining in from LinkedIn, just let me know with a comment. And I can see some people joining in from Facebook and on LinkedIn. Just say hi and let us know from where you are joining. Now, today, as usual, we are going to start the live streaming, the session, with a news update from the digital world. Oh, hi, Pradeep. Okay, Pradeep is with us. Pradeep Pehan. He's a regular viewer. He always join every episode I can remember. So hi, Pradeep. Okay, who else is with us from the regular lot? Just wave at us. Let us know from where you are connecting. And yes, I was talking about the news update. Now to give us an update about what has been happening in the digital world around us, social media world around us, I have Hafsa with me. Hafsa, good evening and welcome. How are
Good
you?
evening, Amitan. I'm good. And how are you? How was your week?
Good. I mean, it has been a busy week, but despite how busy we are ready to go live on this show every Friday evening. By the way, like I think there's a long curfew going to get
Yeah.
affected starting tonight, right? 10 p.m. I think we might see a lot of people missing the show. They might be rushing to grab their stuff before the curfew. But nevertheless, I think that's a good move from the government's part, finally, to impose the travel restrictions and all that, because otherwise this third wave had been uh, doing no good. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Hafsa. So what do we have for news today?
Okay. So for the news today, the first is this is in the regarding the entertainment industry. So
Uh-huh.
Amitabh Bachchan says impossible to listening to Yohani's Manike music cover actually. So the Manike cover, it has actually exceeded 13 million views. Is currently trending in Kerala on YouTube and
I
Spotify
think I think
India.
it's 40 million. I mean, last time I checked,
Okay.
this morning when I checked, 40 million. And the absolutely beautiful thing is, Hafsa, I saw several other covers. I saw a Malayalam cover, a Tamil cover, a Hindi cover, and I saw a
Mm,
Dad's Den review or Dad's Den reaction video on this. I mean, it's going all over. 40
yeah.
million views by this morning. I'm sure it'll go further.
Yeah, so she began her YouTube channel in 2016, and so her music has always been like genre breaking, who intermingles pop, rhythm, blues, and hip hop. So I think that is her like differentiator, and it is how she was able to like get a global audience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw that. I mean, even before this particular hit going viral, there were a few more songs. There's
Sing
one,
hello.
yeah, Sinhala ones and one Tamil cover. So Hafsa, I mean, I'm just asking you, like, what do you think? What do you think is the difference? Because we've seen like several Sri Lankan musicians, cover artists trying to do something which grabs the regional or even global attention, but very rarely we saw any other artist succeed in there. But Yohani had been really successful in getting
Hmm.
her stuff, her music out of this
Yeah.
island to the neighboring countries. What do you think the secret?
I think she has a very unique style that has not been something like any other artist has have in the past. So
Hmm.
maybe that is how she was able to, like, when something, like when they're doing something like really new and different,
Yeah,
like how she's making these fusion musics. So I think that
yeah,
is something that is making her very popular. And
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely, and one thing that I noticed in her music, the music which went viral, the local covers she did, she kept a certain level of authenticity. Because
Mm,
like, I mean, okay, now if you're American, you don't want to listen to another American sounding song
mm,
from a Sri Lankan. You don't need that, right? So when it's a Sri Lankan song, you need the authentic, the Sri Lankan music, the Sri Lankan flavor in it. I think that's why this song went really viral. I think in India, in some other parts of the world, it has been really considered. Okay, so that's about Yohani. Now, I mean,
yeah.
previous week we had a different song going viral for a different reason, but this week it's
Ah, yeah.
actually Yohani. So
Something we can be proud of.
exactly, this time it's something we can be proud of. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, what do you have next?
So next is about the launching workrooms. So he has announced that Facebook has launched Horizon Workrooms, a new collaboration experience in virtual reality. So
Right.
workrooms are great. So for easy conversations and VR for presentations and multitasking.
Mhm. Right. So this is basically an extension of their rooms feature. Am I correct? The Facebook
Yeah,
rooms.
yeah, I think it is like that.
Right.
And
Okay.
so this is like this is actually like he has told that in future working together will be one of the main ways to use the metaverse, like
Mhm.
it is a concept of virtual reality. And Horizon Workrooms is one more step towards bringing the metaverse to life. So that is what
Right.
he has put on his Facebook.
Perfect. And
And
what else?
yeah, the
Yeah.
next news.
There's some news from TikTok. Am I correct? Yeah.
Okay. The next news is I think you might have seen Khabib his TikTok videos are going viral.
Mm-hmm.
He has become a comedy superstar and the most famous man on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
So he started
Right.
his TikTok career in less than 1.5 years and has gained a massive following, more than twice the followers of BTS, and even more
Mm-hmm.
followers than the TikTok itself.
Right. That's a great
Yeah,
achievement to have. 77 million followers, you said, in on TikTok. So I
yeah.
mean that's
On
absolutely shows how big TikTok is today. So
yeah,
one person having that many
and
followers.
his content, like, it involves like finding overcomplicated or rather like ridiculous life hack videos and then corrects
Mm-hmm.
them by showing what normal people already do. So his style
Right.
is compared to someone like a modern Mr. Bean, like without
Mm-hmm.
saying a word. So that is how
Right.
his content is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is why the content, like, people are very much hooked to his content, because like it shows the reality of majority of TikTokers who are like trying so hard or like too
Mm-hmm.
much into themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So this the in the fake world of social media,
Yeah.
he challenges those and or those over the top contents, and
Mm-hmm.
just shows that it's wise to be just a normal guy doing normal
Mm-hmm.
things, you know, making keeping things very
Mm-hmm.
not complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's kind of relate to what I mentioned about Rehani earlier. Like now. I mean, worldwide, globally, people start talking about this social media fatigue, and this highlight reel effect on social media, all that. And with that, we see that a lot of people are going back to this authenticity thing even on social media. So I mean, maybe this is also coming from that same root where
Mhm.
the TikTokers and their followers and everybody now kind of like wants to see things which are real, because
Yeah.
for so many years we've been talking about fake influencers on Instagram and all sort of things, and now the world is again coming back to going back to searching the authenticity in the content creators. So maybe that's something interesting to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, and his like he was also someone who was affected by the pandemic. So he was actually like he was born in Africa but spent most of his life in Italy,
Hmm.
and then he had lost his job. He was a factory worker, and then he returned back to his parents. And instead of looking a job, he started making TikTok, and now he's
Right.
earning, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So great. So thanks, Hafsa, for those valuable information or the news updates. Now, before we go to our next segment or the main segment of today's live stream, SyncUp Colombo, before I actually invite our guest speaker today, there's one more topic actually we have to make a note of, or make mention of. Now, last few days, there were like discussions about like all these like online payment restrictions by the central bank or the bankers. There was so much of like content being shared, and that I'm part of DMSL. I represent Digital Marketing Association Sri Lanka, and as DMSL, we started kind of like a fact-finding mission. We have a subcommittee already working on this thing. So I want you to follow the DMSL Facebook page. You can search for DMSL on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and the team has already updated published couple of updates. So these are all verified news that the team is publishing there. So therefore, like, I mean, there may be so many different memes coming in from various different sources, but rather than believing what you see in memes, follow some of the trusted sources to get the real updates about what's happening. The DMSL team, there is a subcommittee who is actually following up, or actually looking at the facts, digging the facts, and they are keep updating the membership and the rest of the community. So that's something that I wanted to pass as a news for all of you from DMSL. Right. So thank you, Hafsa, and I'm going to say goodbye to Hafsa for the moment, because I'm going to invite our next guest. So let me quickly give you an introduction about our guest speaker today. The topic we are going to discuss today is building a marketing machine the Amazon way. Now, to talk about building a marketing machine the Amazon way, we need someone who represents or who works for Amazon. So our guest speaker today is Daryl Alfonso, who is the global marketing operations manager at Amazon Web Services. And Daryl is an award-winning marketer and a MarTech professional. He was named one of the top MarTech marketers to follow in 2020. He has consulted for several Fortune 500 companies, including GE, General Electric, and Abbott Laboratories, and currently leads marketing operations at Amazon Web Services, where he helps empower hundreds of marketers to build world-class customer experiences. Daryl is a frequent speaker at MarTech events and regularly posts through post thought leadership content on his LinkedIn and Twitter. So I started actually following Daryl, and he has more than 29,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's a follower-worthy professional on LinkedIn. So, Daryl, welcome to SyncUp Colombo.
Hey, thanks so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. So, Daryl, so I gave an introduction about yourself to our audience. Did I miss anything? You want to make any notes, like kind of like a self introduction? If I missed any points about you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, thank you for the introduction. I very kind of you. For those that maybe not know, Amazon Web Services is the cloud computing division of Amazon. And, if you think about it, so it's different than the retail side. So where you would go or the e-commerce side where you're purchasing products and services online and getting it shipped to your door. Amazon Web Services powers some of the largest companies in the world, as well as many different startups, companies of all sizes, in servicing their cloud computing needs. There's all companies need computing power, like servers, and traditionally these were physical servers that you have in a building or a facility, and it requires a tremendous amount of work to operate and maintain those servers. Moving that online has tremendous cost savings, agility, and just operational power. So we have companies like Netflix and Disney that are have moved all of their servers to the cloud, and is powered by Amazon Web Services. So that's a little bit of background about Amazon Web Services. If you haven't heard of us before, I highly recommend look us up online. It's incredibly fascinating and such an interesting side of Amazon. But yeah, I think other than that, I'm really excited to be here and talk about all things marketing.
Sure, Daryl. I mean, thanks for the introduction about the company and the background, because I'm sure there are like several companies over here, even in Sri Lanka, who are already using Amazon Web Services. So I'm sure maybe like we might have a few people who are joining in today as viewers as well, so they can actually point some of their questions related to what we are going to discuss. So today we are going to talk about like building a marketing machine, a super marketing machine, the Amazon way. So we'll start, Daryl, by talking a little about your role at Amazon Web Services. So what exactly is your role at Amazon Web Services as the marketing operations lead?
Yeah. So the easiest way to think of my team is we own and are responsible for all of the marketing technology that thousands of marketers utilize across Amazon and across the world on a daily basis. And these different technologies are like email marketing, marketing automation, content experiences, lead generation, and lead management. So all of the different things that marketers use, our team owns, and we on one side sort of set up, configure, maintain the systems, as well as govern how users actually utilize those systems. And then on the other side, we also train and teach people how to leverage the technology to its utmost potential. And so to give you in practical terms of what that means, one of our most used channels is email marketing. So my team actually sets up, very much like this, virtual training experiences where we actually teach people how to do email marketing, how to reach out to customers, in the best and most relevant way possible. So that's a little bit about what I do here.
Right. Perfect. So I picked two terms from your answer, Daryl. Like, so you mentioned about MarTech and you mentioned about like marketing operations. So what's the role of marketing operations in a business? Now you can actually talk in the context of your role at Amazon Web Services, but for someone else who is joining in today, like if he's thinking about like how can I utilize this idea of like marketing operations,
Yeah.
so how would you describe that to someone?
So I'll talk about it a little bit at a high level, sort of philosophically, the way that I think about marketing operations, and then I'll give you some practical examples of how it actually, sort of looks like in an organization. So to me, marketing operations, I always define it as the art and science of executing great marketing. So you can kind of think about marketing from a strategic standpoint of developing, like let's say a CMO or marketing leader would develop the vision, select a target market, and then position the company and its products and services in a way that customers would really love and purchase for again and again. And that's sort of the job of the marketing leader. Our operations job is to execute on that vision, and make it into a reality. And there's so many different things that come into that. So if you think about it, so much of marketing is actually executional, and it's actually marketing operations. So that's how I think of it, the way that I think that the audience can sort of think about it.
Perfect. Now, I think that's a great start actually. Now, I mean, from your explanation, what I realize is especially in a market like Sri Lanka and this emerging markets region in Asia, like a lot of the even the big companies, I mean, I'm sure like there may be like multinationals who are already segregating this strategic marketing planning and marketing operations into two teams or two different operations altogether. But in most places in Sri Lanka, in these markets, this goes hand in hand, or rather, like, I mean, it's under one management, or you only have one marketing manager with several brand managers and communications managers and all. They don't have a separate team for marketing operations. So do you think, like, okay, what would be the business impact if imagine a mid-scale to large company in a country like Sri Lanka, if they want to invest in segregating their marketing planning and marketing operations, what would be the efficiencies that they can earn, the overall business impact of segregating marketing operations?
Well, that's a good question, and I think you're right. Your line of thinking is right on. I actually think that it really depends on the size and the size scale, and then sort of maturity of the company, which should actually determine if you're going to segregate or specialize in marketing operations. Because even with small companies and startups especially, it's always going to be a hybrid role. And my first 4 years in my marketing career was actually at a startup. And you actually do a little bit of everything, but you absolutely do a little bit of both of, the marketing strategy, sort of selecting your target market and figuring out your positioning and your campaigns, and also doing it, also actually logging into Facebook, logging into Google, logging into your email platform, and clicking turn on the campaigns, right? So you're actually doing both. I don't think that's a bad thing. The way that I think about it is, when you look at the executional part of marketing, when you actually do it, are there repetitive processes or programs or campaigns that you can make more efficient, that you can templatize, and that you can do in a way that's repeatable and scalable? And that's the essence of operations. Now, as your company grows, you naturally specialize. You know what I mean? So if you take reporting, for example, if you're at a small company, you might be responsible for launching your advertising campaigns and also reporting on those campaigns up to leadership, and demonstrating what the impact is for for the business. As the number of people on your team grows, you can actually have one person that specifically focuses on reporting and thinks about it all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that in the same way that's how I see marketing operations as well. So at Amazon and at AWS, we have an entire team that focuses on operations just because of the scale of the company, and we actually break down operations further into separate different subcategories of operations. So to answer your original question, I think that you can make incredible efficiencies by thinking about operations, but you don't necessarily have to have the title of operations to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Daryl. Actually, as you speak, I was thinking now. I originally come from agency background, so I used to work for an ad agency. So there, I absolutely experience what you just mentioned. So there are teams. They try to do everything, like from planning to client servicing and then execution. So what happens is, okay, they go for a client meeting in the morning, and they sit with the client for about 2.5 hours in a discussion, and they jot down everything. They come back and they do the plan, and then they have to execute it as well. So you are correct. Like, I mean, if we have this segregated, so you have the operations team working independently, as you quite correctly said. I mean, dedicated people to generate report, because I mean that could be one specialization, because I mean report generation need a lot of analytical thinking, going through data, so that need a lot of mind space. So guys who are watching, I mean if this is a problem that you are facing in your organization, that you see there is like kind of like an overwhelming workload for your marketing team who does everything from planning to execution, reporting, everything. So this segregation of marketing planning and strategic marketing and marketing operations can solve some of your problems. So that's one of the great inputs we can take out of from this discussion. So Daryl, I mean, from stemming from that same insight or same question. Now I remember, like, I mean, in my agency life and working with some of the clients, some of the multinational clients also. So we used to talk about this concept of marketing automation with almost like the same purpose. We wanted to actually bring down the workload of the teams who are into marketing. So we were talking about like using like technology to automate certain processes, and also what's the difference? I mean, marketing automation and marketing operations. So what exactly is the difference there?
Yeah, this is actually a really interesting question, because sometimes, even today, people almost define the term synonymously, marketing automation, marketing operations. And that's because, especially in a business to business setting, there are very large marketing automation vendors and platforms that literally take teams of people to operate. And so the jobs end up becoming overlap very much. Your entire job could be managing a marketing automation platform, and that would be fine. So I think that's why there's some confusion. But if you think about it, marketing automation is sort of the programmatic execution of a lot of the repetitive, promotional and advertising activities that typically fall within marketing. And instead of doing it manually, you use a system to automate it. For example, personalizing the website. It could change for each person. Personalizing your email newsletter based on who's receiving it. So a lot of those things are using technology to automate. But marketing operations is much broader. So I consider marketing automation an actual subset of the greater, marketing operations scope. Right. Because remember, in the way that I'm defining it, we're talking about executing all areas of marketing, right? From the actual creation of marketing campaigns, to the monitoring and tracking of it, to the reporting, and then to planning in the future how to repeat those sort of successes. that I think is part of the overall marketing operations charter. And I'm happy to break those out into like, hey, what functionally, what does marketing operations specifically do? I'm happy to do that. But to answer your question, that's how I see it. Marketing automation is a subset, a component of the larger marketing operation charter.
So basically, so marketing operations comes as an outcome or a subset of marketing automation is a subset of the broader idea or the broader concept of marketing operations. Okay, now this next question that came to my mind is, Daryl, now a lot of, now I involved in a lot of training and teaching. I teach undergraduates at universities as a visiting lecturer there. So when I speak to the younger generation, the undergraduates or trainees, interns, I mean, if I look at their aspirations, everybody wants to get into, the planner position fast. They think it's kind of like a superior position to be in. I want to be the marketing planner who, like sits above everybody else and putting things, into plans and presenting things and all that. But like, I'd say the marketing operations guy, the marketing operations manager is the doer. Am I correct to say so? So what inspired you to be the doer? So where did it happen? So where do you find the passion to be the marketing operations guy rather than sitting somewhere and drawing up plans and all that?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I've thought about this a lot, and I think that, and I don't. This is how I felt at the time when I got started in my career in marketing, and I hope I'm not offending anyone when I say that this is sort of a personal opinion. But when I would learn, when I would read guides online, when I would read books, the instructions were always something very fluffy and ambiguous. It would be something like, try to engage your customer, try to, start conversations with your customer, change their mind and influence their mind. And then to me, as a very practical person, I was very confused. I'm like, what does that mean? How am I going to apply what you're telling me in a day-to-day setting? I'm here in front of my laptop. I'm trying to create marketing campaigns, but the instructions and all the guides are just telling me to start a conversation with my customer. And to me, it didn't really make sense. Now to others, it might. But for me, I was always so fascinated with the actual step-by-step. What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? And, I think that's why I gravitated to operations. I find that it's so practical. It's so real. And, there's so much sort of data and actual things, it's almost like this is the part of marketing that you can actually touch. So I think that's why I started to gravitate toward it. And what I had found was that there were a lot of marketing professionals that felt like me, or that felt the same way that I did. And they would try to break down marketing into practical steps that you could actually do and that you could actually execute. And in today's marketplace and in today's world, marketing is primarily digital, right? So we're doing so many things online, and that's really where marketing operations and marketing automation really excels. It's we're engaging with customers, on the internet, on the social media channels, and there's actual practical steps you can do to do that. And I found that was always that became a passion of mine. And I'll say one last thing is that I think when I started, I didn't really understand the concept of marketing operations. But for anyone out there, and you'll probably feel this the same way too, even though you may not know about something, when you start to get good at it and when you start to sort of excel, you end up really enjoying it. I think that's actually very similar across industries. It's not just marketing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because so I mean, as you speak, I was thinking like I mean, maybe I mean, you're quite right now. I've been in this field marketing for nearly 16 years, more than 16 years now. Now, I mean, despite like what my position is, I still like to get my hands dirty, especially because of the digital thing, right? Now,
Yeah.
before digital, during the non-digital era of marketing, of course, the execution part was maybe it would have been tedious, but the volume of executions were limited. You are executing your BTL campaigns, below the line advertising, the activations, your TV, and very few mediums. That's all you have in terms of execution. But today, in a digital world, I mean, fine tuning all those small nuts and bolts in the entire marketing machine. Sometimes it's I mean, as you quite correctly said, like I mean, it we might sometimes we get that same feeling we maybe like a auto mechanic automobile engineer gets when they get into the engine and do all these fine tunings and all things that's a different thing that you are getting, I mean, out of it. So I think like the people who are watching here, so from this you can learn that, especially the younger generation, if you are watching this, if you believe that like, okay, I don't want to stay in operations for long, I want to get into a job where I'm the planner and all that, but this is something that you can really enjoy. I mean getting into the machine and doing it and experimenting, because like if you look at some of these upcoming, or not upcoming, already trending like skills like growth marketing or growth hacking, full funnel marketing, you need to be hands on with some of these operational things. So therefore it's an area that you have to be always uh, uh, keep an eye on. Okay, so Daryl, so my next question to you is, now you're not managing marketing operations for a small organization, right? I mean, it's a huge global giant, tech giant. So how does it feel to, like, I mean, how do you manage this global marketing operation for such a huge organization like Amazon Web Services?
Yeah, so there's an inherent difference between mid-sized company and then what I think of as mega enterprise, where it's the company is global and it's well over 100,000 employees, right? So I think that the nature of the problems end up being different. Here's I'll try to cover a really quick example, because this is how I explain to people that ask me. So pretend you have a small shop, where you make pies or cakes. Let's call it pies an example. So let's say you and your small team create pies on a daily basis. There's 5 of you. And if you ever have any problems, and then you sell it to the customer. And if you ever have any problems, you can, like let's say you run out of sugar or you run out of milk, you just run down to the street and you and get it from the corner store, and then you bring it back, and then you can make more pies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now comparatively, if you think about enterprise, it's more like a pie factory, right? Where instead of 5 people, there's 2,000 workers, and they're all making pies, right? Now the problems are different, because like let's say the same problem, you run out of sugar. That actually means that the entire shipment of sugar did not come to your factory, and the delay is thousands and thousands of pies, right? And to solve that problem, it's more of supply chain and it's more of logistics, right? It's not going to the store and fixing it. And to be honest, a lot of it is not really about pie making at all. So in the same way, when you think about marketing at a small organization versus a large organization, the problems that we work on, they all sort of stem from the problem of scale, meaning it's so large that it just causes problems because it's large. And the way to solve it is not really a marketing thing. Like, you're having to fix logistically a lot of the things. So for those of you that are not in an enterprise organization and are sort of curious about what it's like to work in an enterprise, I hope that analogy kind of helps. And the way that I think that I try and my team tries to tackle that problem of scale is really standardization and centralization of best practices, and then a real rigorous discipline focus on communication. And a lot of the times the form of that is documentation. It's in the written form, and it's in the it could be in a sort of recorded video form. But we have internal wikis and internal resources that helps, because the people using our technology, the people using our email platform, for example, they're all across the world. There are hundreds of marketers in the Americas, hundreds of marketers in EMEA, hundreds of marketers in Asia and in Australia. So the way that we try to scale our efforts and support these people is through documentation. It's through communication, and it's through centralizing best practices. And that's how I think about it.
Perfect. I can understand. I mean, like running such a large machinery, I mean, it has to be really thought through. The documentation, the protocols has to be really looked after. So like, okay, now like, with your experience of managing this marketing machine of Amazon Web Services, if a relatively a small organization, maybe a okay, in Sri Lankan context, it could be a large organization, but yet local. I mean, they are very much operating only in Sri Lanka. So if such a company wants to start a segregated marketing operations team, so a digital driven marketing operations stream, so where should they start, Daryl? Like what are some of the tips that you can give? I mean, I'm sure like there are some people representing some of the ad agencies in Sri Lanka, some financial banks and financial organizations, some FMCG companies I can see. So like, if such a company wants to set up their own marketing operations team for digital, so where should they start? What are some of the tips?
So yeah, and this is such a good question. And most of my career actually has been in small to mid-sized organizations. So it's actually only been the past 3 years that I've worked at Amazon. So I've been thinking about this I think deeply throughout my career. One of the things that you can think about when you're thinking about operations is, if you're having success, how can you continue that success, and how can you repeat it, even though the number of people, employees, customers, and sort of data, all of that will increase. So how do you continue to repeat success in a scalable, repeatable way? That, I think, is the essence of marketing operations. And there's two ways that you can really think about it. One is, you need to know what success looks like. So having operations people focus specifically on the data and the reporting side of an organization, of a marketing organization, is going to be so key. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have an idea of how marketing is influencing revenue and influencing business outcomes, then you're going to get kind of lost. So that's the first part. The second thing that you want to keep in mind is that idea of repeatability and scalability. And you do that with a center of excellence. And for those of you that haven't heard the term center of excellence before, it is essentially a set of programs, processes, and campaigns, and even projects that you use again and again, right? That you update as we're saying, these campaigns and these processes this is our high standard. This is our best practice of what everything that we've learned, we put into these things. And marketers from across the organization always go to that sort of source to start their campaigns and their projects. So a really quick example on how you can create and maintain part of your center of excellence. Let's talk about a webinar or a digital event. You know, you never want to start those from scratch. You never want to start those from the very beginning, especially if you've had successful webinars or virtual events in the past. Take all of those components, you know, the images that you use, the copy that you use, the audience that you send to, the mix of platforms that you use, have them all as part of a template that someone can take and then recreate and do it in a fraction of the time that it took you to do it the very first time that you started. So that, in terms of a campaign, would be part of your center of excellence. And you can see the efficiencies gained, especially if you work in a global organization. But it doesn't have to be a global organization, especially if you have multiple people working on it. You know, it doesn't matter if you have a new hire that started last month. They can take everything that you've learned, duplicate it, and then still receive the same results that you got, even though you have much more years of experience. So those are two ways that I think that people should kind of start focusing on if you want to think about driving impact with marketing operations.
Right. So this is absolutely, I mean, top insights, Daryl, as you speak. I was thinking, I mean, even I can use that at my organization, because very recently, for example, like we launched our program, the Professional Diploma in Digital Marketing program, which we have been running in Sri Lanka for nearly 5 years, 18 batches. We recently launched it in Cambodia with one of our partner institutes in Cambodia. So what we did was, I mean, unknowingly actually, so when you explained only I could relate it. What we did was actually everything we did in Sri Lankan market, the marketing templates, the campaign templates and everything, what we did was we slightly adapted it to the Cambodian market, and we handed it over to our partner in Cambodia to run it. And now they are running the marketing and the sales operations, whereas we are supposed to deliver the program once the program starts. So I mean, it's actually come to think about it, we should do this quite regularly, not only in that example. I should go back and think like what else we can do, like in our day-to-day operations, marketing operations, what else we can actually standardize, kind of like templates, things like that. Now, there's a question from the audience, but I believe, I mean, this is pretty much the same thing that we discussed a while ago. But I think Randika is relating this to small business context. But Daryl, do you have anything to add to this? I mean, will there be a difference if the business is not a mid to large scale business, it's a small scale business? Is there any difference, or would they be able to do the same as you earlier explained?
I think that when it comes to automating tasks, you want to think about, you know, where you don't really need a human touch to, you know, make the marketing activity really sort of shine. So what I mean by that is, you know, let's say, for example, you know, you have a welcome email or something where a customer is getting introduced to your business for the first time. If it helps to have a salesperson or someone personally create that sort of welcome message, whether it's virtual, in person, or through email, then there's some value to that. But there's so many things that we think about in business that are sort of like binary. And binary means like true or false. It means that it's just there or it's not. And where, you know, a almost a robot, for example, would be able to execute on. And those are things that are ripe for automation. So examples of that are like scheduling, you know, automating the scheduling of meetings, automating notifications if someone's account is low or needs attention, automating, again, like automating messaging if you know that someone's from a specific industry. Those things don't require it doesn't require a person to go in there and look at it and say, okay, based on my human judgment, what's the best thing that we should do? And that I think all of those, that's the question that you have to ask when you're thinking about what to automate and what not to. Like if a customer is angry and they're coming to your business with a complaint about your product or service, a robot is not going to be able to handle that complaint. It takes somebody with empathy to understand and make judgment calls and to sense sort of the distress of the customer. You can't automate things like that, but there's so many things that you can, and that's, I think, the question that you have to ponder when you're trying to address that question.
Sure. So I think, Andika, you got some additional insights for your question. And okay, so I have one more question for you, because we are reaching the top of the hour. So we have about like 8 more minutes to go. So I have a question for you, Daryl. But in the meantime, our audience, so who are tuning in from LinkedIn, or you may be connecting to us on our Facebook page, please keep sending your questions, sending the questions, so we'll be able to get it across to Daryl and get the answers for you. So Daryl, my next question is, now imagine that in our audience today, we have someone who is aspiring to be a marketing operations leader like you, and they might be aspiring to start locally, working for a local company, and one day maybe to head for a position in a global entity like Amazon or any other organization. So what's your tips? What are your tips for someone who aspire to be a marketing operations leader in future, based on your experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's 2 things that I would say. The first thing is, if you can, try to develop specialized skills, and those are often going to be technical skills, especially today. You know what I mean? The businesses have undergone digital transformation. The pandemic has accelerated so much of the world going to digital and marketing going to digital, that a lot of the things that you execute in your day-to-day job is very technical. So things like digital marketing, and I know that you produce this course and this certification in digital marketing. That's a great start. So I find that especially for the really good sort of high-paying marketing roles, it's very competitive. You know what I mean? Right. Sometimes you are competing with people with years of experience, or maybe they went to a first-rate university or something like that. So it becomes very, very competitive. I mean, I did not go to a first-rate university, but what I'm saying is, you have to find a way to stand out and to sort of demonstrate your value that's not sort of those things. And a lot of times it's specialized skill and it's technical skill. So I would focus on solving big problems within your organization and for your marketing team. That tends to be on the technical side, and I think that'll serve you for the rest of your career. The second thing that you really need to think about is continuing to study and being business oriented and business minded. It's great to continue to study marketing and psychology and sort of how to create great campaigns and how to communicate really well. But more and more, as you're advancing in your career, you're going to realize that it's really about business results at the end of the day. So, and really about supporting your organization through profitable business outcomes. And once you understand that, and you can start to tie the work that you do to profitable business outcomes, that's going to be, I think, your key to getting promoted, to getting jobs that you want, because that's what the interview is going to be. That's what people are going to ask you to do. So those are the things that I would really focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, there's no such thing as into your learning or getting skilled up. So I mean, it's end of the day, it's about like accumulating as much as skills related to this area, both technical and soft skills, and keep improving you and keep raising the bar as an individual, as a professional, which will give you the best shot at like getting an opportunity in a global company to head marketing operations. So, Daryl, I think we had a wonderful discussion today, and personally, I learned quite a lot of things from you. Maybe I'll bug you through LinkedIn. I'll ask questions through LinkedIn, because I'm going to go back and implement some of the things that I learned personally from Daryl today in our marketing operation for APIDA Mapidem, because I know that we can do a lot of automations, we can do a lot of operation standardizations, templating. So that's going to be actually one of the key priorities for me personally after this session today. And I'm sure, like me, a lot of the other people who actually joined in today would have gained a lot of like insights, knowledge, ideas about segregation of like marketing planning and marketing operations, and the importance, the weight that you have to give for marketing ops, marketing operations in a digital world. Because I have seen this myself as an ad man, as a digital ad agency man, right, in agencies, in my client companies, where they don't give sufficient resources, sufficient attention for the marketing operations part. And as a whole, your entire things get, I mean, ineffective, inefficient altogether. So I believe most of you who watch this live cast today take this as a point to really ponder upon. So you can go back and talk to your bosses, talk to your colleagues, and maybe you can start thinking about setting up a properly set up marketing operations team with you. So we see some of the questions or comments coming in last minute. So let me see whether there are any questions that I can quickly put to Daryl, because we can take maybe about a couple of minutes extra. Yeah. Okay, so there's something related to the pandemic, because it's something that everybody asks these days. Like, what's the strategy and later taking place during this pandemic time, or a business strength comes from the support within the company? How will these changes affect person and mentality for company employees? So I'm sure Shavindra is asking. So during a pandemic time, because of the lot of the fatigue setting in and all that, so he might be asking about like how a marketing ops team take that into account and keep the same level of efficiency going on. Maybe Shavindra, if you want, you can add to that if you want to make any clarifications to the questions.
Well, I think that, when I look at that question, it's kind of, the way it reads to me is, how can businesses sort of like, what are the key things to succeed during this time, which is, it's still rough, it's still turbulent, there's still terrible things that are happening, and then how can you continue to succeed in the future at some unknown point when the pandemic is over? Hopefully, we all hope for that. And I think that, a concept that I've been thinking about so often is, really trying to read the field. And read the field means taking a look at what's actually happening both inside and outside your organization, and actioning on and trying to solve those problems and being there for those people in the most appropriate and authentic way. And like, here's an example that I often saw, and it was midway through a few months into the pandemic, when the world had gone into lockdown, brands were still advertising their commercials saying, you know, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this, you know, like take care of your family and we support you. Little did they know that consumers were already sick of that. You know, they were already tired, just like you said, they were already fatigued of them telling people that they're going to be okay. You know, I think they pretty much figured out that they were going to be okay, that they just had to stay inside. And you know, what people really wanted is they really wanted to continue to move on with their lives in this different way. They still wanted great entertainment. They still wanted products and services delivered to their door quickly. They just wanted everything from home. And it's the brands and businesses that can understand that can really step into the shoes of their customer and understand what they're feeling, that's going to win. And unfortunately, we don't know what that will play out like right now, because it sounds like even in your area, there's additional lockdowns. Even in other parts of the world, we still have to wait. We thought the economy would open back up again, but it didn't. You know what I mean? So I think that the only thing that we can do is develop this real-time mechanisms of getting feedback from customers as to what they really want, and not assuming what they want, and then doing our best to deliver on those things as we see them happening throughout. And that applies to your employees too. You know what I mean? Like what's happening is I think it's a mix of people that want to go back to the office and people that want to work from home. So I think the best companies are creating these flexible hybrid work options that employees can almost choose from depending on their situation. If they need to stay home the entire time to take care of their children and their family, that's fine. If they don't have those obligations and they want to meet some people, they can come into the office a couple times a week. That's what the best companies are doing. They're really seeing, hey, what's really happening out there. They're not making these blanket assumptions like everyone's tired of not being in the office, let's send them all back. Or everyone wants to work from home. That's not true either. Not everybody wants to work from home. But so that's kind of my long-winded answer, but that's how I sort of address how to continue to succeed throughout the pandemic and in the future.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Daryl, for that answer as well. So, Daryl, we've come to the top of the hour, and yes, we are like almost like 4 minutes extra time, but no worries. So, any last remarks, Daryl, you want to add to what you explained about like the marketing operations, building a marketing machine, the Amazon way? Any last like final remarks or tips that you would want to share with the audience today?
I would say, you know, if you're slightly interested in what I was saying today about marketing automation and marketing operations and MarTech in general, study it, follow the people that are talking about it, learn about it more. The career opportunities are really exploding at the moment. The marketing technology in general is such a hot topic. It'll continue to be a hot topic throughout the future. And I'm excited to see where that goes. And I hope that those interested will join me in this awesome, I think, trend and sort of, you know, happening that's going on.
Right. Perfect. So thank you very much, Daryl, for your wonderful insights, sharing your knowledge today with our audience, the SyncUp Colombo community. And so I'm sure the audience today learned quite a lot of new things, gathered new insights, and which you can actually go back and try implement. Yes, as Daryl mentioned, start like following people who are talking about marketing operations, marketing automation, and MarTech in general. And as the Asia Pacific Institute of Digital Marketing, we are also currently planning bringing in specialized courses, short programs, short courses on some of these topics where you can actually expand your skills and knowledge in this area. So we come to the end of yet another wonderful discussion of SyncUp Colombo weekly live streaming. And next week also we are going to come live to you the same time Friday at 8 p.m. And we'll be coming to you with another topic, another interesting topic. The SyncUp route team is working behind the scene, talking to the speakers and getting their appointments and all that. So we'll let you know the topic for next Friday by Monday, Tuesday as usual. And until such time, stay in touch, and your feedback you can write to us, syncUp@apidem.asia. You can suggest your topics. And if you want to join us as a co-host or as a speaker, you can write to us, syncup@apidem.asia, and we'll come to you live next week with another wonderful speaker like Daryl. So thank you very much, Daryl, and have a wonderful. I think it's still the morning, right?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Talk to you next
Bye-bye.
time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.